2023 had some pretty great anime, but there are 10 in particular that I think are better than the rest. So like I do every year, let's talk about my favorite anime from 2023. Again, this year was pretty insane for anime, so it was kind of hard making this list. There were a lot of anime that I couldn't put on this list that I loved, so if your favorite anime of 2023 is not on this list, it's probably not because I didn't like it, it's just that I personally think these are better. So with that out of the way, let's get into my favorite anime. And just so you know, this is starting from my 10th favorite anime, working my way up to my anime of the year. So number 10 is an anime that I haven't seen too many people talk about. It's called Link Click. If you haven't heard, Link Click is actually a Chinese anime. The first season that aired in 2022 was great. It was a little slow, but it was really good and had such a unique premise. And season 2 was even better than season 1. I was hooked on every episode wanting to see what happens next, and there's a moment near the end of the season that shocked me more than any scene in an anime from this year. I also thought the story this time was really good. The first season was kind of episodic, and each episode has its own story for the most part, with an overarching story throughout the season. But season 2 had one story it wanted to tell, and it did a fantastic job telling that story. It was emotional and thrilling, and it felt a lot like a detective movie with some supernatural elements thrown in there. And surprisingly, it had some of the best fights of the year in anime. The fights weren't super over the top, they were just people throwing hands. Link Click Season 2 was originally not going to be on this list, but after finishing the second season, I felt that I had to put it on here because it honestly surprised me. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and watch it. I think it's better to go in blind since it has such a unique and cool concept, which is why I tried not to go into that much detail here, but I'm really interested to see if they do another season, and I definitely recommend you watch it. Number 9 is this anime that completely came out of nowhere, called Heavenly Delusions. I just saw a few people talking about it on Twitter after the first episode came out, saying how good it was, so I decided to check it out, knowing literally nothing about it, and it was really good. It managed to tell a good and unique story that was kind of unlike anything I had seen before. It could go from being really funny to super fucking dark and emotional. It explored a lot of dark themes and was honestly kind of hard to watch sometimes, but it told such a good story that it kept me hooked and made me want to keep watching anyways. Although I don't think it's for everyone, because on top of it being dark, sometimes it's also really weird. Not always in a bad way. A lot of the time its uniqueness makes it a little weird, but there's some scenes where you'll think to yourself, did that really need to be in this anime? But if you can get past some of its weirdness, it's a really great anime and a breath of fresh air with how unique it is. Also, Heavenly Delusions is an anime that definitely needs another season, because while I really liked it, it ended with a lot of questions unanswered. And it wasn't a definitive ending, so if it was longer, it would probably be higher on this list, but if it gets another season, I think it will be great. Now, number 8 is an anime that I hadn't planned on watching at all, but after seeing how many people were praising it, I decided to check it out, and man, am I glad I did. It's Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Frieren is such a cozy and comforting anime to watch. The vibe that I get while watching this anime feels like sitting in a warm cabin wrapped in a blanket drinking hot cocoa by the fire, and I love it. It's such a beautiful anime. From the pretty scenery to the great animation to the very real feeling characters. It's so good and does such a good job telling this story. Even while some episodes might be kind of slow, it does such a good job with this beautiful story and great characters that I like watching every episode even if they're slow and boring sometimes. The way it handles Frieren as a character is great. Seeing her regret from not spending more time with the one she loved before they ran out of time feels very real and powerful. You see Frieren on her new journey, constantly reflecting and remembering the time she spent with her friends years ago. And you see how certain things people said to her have influenced her to this day. There's one episode in particular that I want to talk about real quick. I think it's like the second or third episode. In the episode, Frieren remembers how the hero she traveled with, named Himmel, said he wanted to show her these flowers from his village one day. Then Frieren stumbles upon this old lady who wants to put flowers around this statue of Himmel. So Frieren decides to look for that one flower from his village to plant around the statue, and she ends up spending months looking for this one flower until finally finding them. This one seemingly unimportant thing Himmel mentioned to her over 50 years ago has stuck with Frieren all this time. It feels so real. While I'm obviously not a 200-year-old elf, there are things people said to me years ago that have influenced the way I am now. The anime just does a fantastic job at making Frieren feel like a real person, and I love it for that. And I can't recommend this anime enough, just like every anime on this list that I'm going to talk about and that I have talked about. They're all really good. Number 7 is Hell's Paradise. This is one of those anime where before it even came out, I heard great things about the manga. So going into it, I was excited to see what the hype was about. And man, were the manga readers right. Hell's Paradise is so good and it has a great cast of characters. It does a pretty good job at making them, for the most part, pretty interesting, and I cared about most of them by the end of the 13-episode season 1. It does a really good job at making them compelling, and it actually makes sense why they wouldn't want to leave this terrifying island they're on. If you don't know, I'll give some context real quick. Hell's Paradise is about a bunch of criminals who get sent to a really dangerous island filled with horrifying monsters to look for the elixir of life. And if they find it, and bring it to the leader of Japan or the shogun or whatever, they get pardoned for all their crimes. So they all have a good reason why they wouldn't want to leave. And I think giving each of the characters a reason for what they're doing that you can understand right away makes it more interesting. They all want to earn their freedom. Some have specific reasons beyond just not wanting to die. And I'm sure we'll learn the motivations behind each character in future seasons. But giving us a baseline understanding that they will be pardoned if they find the elixir of life makes these compelling characters whose motivation you can understand right away. That's also what makes the plot so interesting and unique. Also, it has some pretty great fight scenes, and the main character, I think his name is Gabimaru, is super badass and cool, and I'm really excited for the next season. Number 6 is Oshi no Ko. This is an incredible anime. The manga it's based off of was written by Aka Akasaka, who's the same person who wrote Kaguya-sama Love is War. And Kaguya-sama is one of my all-time favorite anime. So going into Oshi no Ko, I was excited. But it blew my expectations away. It has, in my opinion, one of, if not the best episodes of an anime ever. It was like a 90-minute episode, I think, and it's totally justified in it being that long because it needed that much time just for the prologue. In this video, I won't talk about Oshi no Ko that much. As much as I love it, because you 100% should go in blind without knowing anything. I'm sure if you've already seen Oshi no Ko, you'll probably agree with me on that. Anyways, I don't want you to think me spending less time talking about this anime than the others means that I don't like it as much. It's incredible, and you should definitely watch it. I'm just trying not to spoil it. Definitely go watch it. Maybe I'll make a video on it someday. Just, you know what, that's the first one you should watch, right? Go watch it right now, or maybe after the video, actually. It's so good. Very, very good. Definitely recommend. Okay, so getting into the top 5 now. Number 5 is Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Now, Jujutsu Kaisen, when I first watched Season 1, I thought it was good, but I thought it was way too overhyped. It had cool fights and animation, but I didn't care that much about many of the characters. Again, I thought it was pretty good, just nothing crazy. But Season 2 made me understand the hype for Jujutsu Kaisen. This season is insane. I remember there's an episode in Season 2, I don't remember the exact episode, but after watching it, I said to myself, that was the best episode of Jujutsu Kaisen so far. And I said the same thing about the next episode, and the next episode, and the next episode. Just when I thought this was the best the series had to offer, it said, hold my beer again and again and again. Jujutsu Kaisen just kept one-upping itself in this season. This season had the best fights by far, and had the best character development so far. It made me actually really like Itadori, who at first I thought was kind of boring, and goddamn, they put him through so much shit this season, it was crazy. And the way this season ended has me so hyped for Season 3, and I cannot wait to see what happens. Anyways, on to number 4. Jujutsu Kaisen, goddamn, that was crazy. Crazy season. Just a crazy season. Okay, number 4 is Zom 100. Now, realistically, Jujutsu Kaisen is a better anime than Zom 100. But if you've seen my Zom 100 video, you probably understand why this is above Jujutsu Kaisen. If you haven't seen it, Zom 100 basically taught me how to live and changed the way I view life. It's about this guy named Akira trying to finish his bucket list after the zombie apocalypse starts. And seeing Akira trying to do his best to do everything he's ever wanted to do in life deeply resonated with me. It made me start my own bucket list, and it's also one of the only anime on this entire list that I made a video on. So if you want to know my full thoughts on Zom 100 instead of this brief summary, then I'll link that video in the description. The bottom line is Zom 100 affected me more than any other anime this year, It's not my favorite anime of the year, but I felt I had to put it relatively high up on this list because of how big of an impact it had on me. Now, number 3 is Mushoku Tensei Season 2. I absolutely loved the first season of Mushoku Tensei so much that I started reading the light novel. My first ever light novel. I've actually made a couple videos on the first few volumes as well as a video on Season 1. Since then, even though I haven't made more videos covering the light novels, I've read almost all of them and I'm just waiting for the last volume to release in English in March. So Mushoku Tensei is really important to me as the first anime that got me to read a light novel, and after reading almost the entire series, I can say it is one of the best stories I have ever read, period. So going into Season 2, I was excited, even though I knew it was going to happen, and at first, I actually really didn't like Season 2. Me and quite a few other people who read the light novels were kind of annoyed with how they were rushing the adaptation of Volume 7. But after the first couple kinda rushed episodes, it was amazing. Aside from the first 3 or so episodes, it was a pretty great adaptation and it did a wonderful job of telling this part of the story. It was able to make me feel emotional again, even though I knew what was going to happen. This season was so good. It was a little slow, but it did an incredible job at telling a great story. And trust me when I say the next half is going to be even better and is probably going to have the best fight of the series so far. Unless they don't have enough time to adapt the part I'm talking about, but I'm pretty sure they will, and if they do, it will be amazing. So that's why this is number 3. Number 2 is Attack on Titan, the actual final season. I felt like I had to put this one here, not only because Attack on Titan is a fantastic series, but because it actually ended. Anime don't end that often, especially not anime as big as Attack on Titan. So for that alone, I had to put it in second place. And I really like the ending to Attack on Titan, which isn't something I thought I'd say. About 2 or so years ago, I think when the first part of the final season came out, I couldn't wait anymore and I just read the rest of the manga, and I really wish I hadn't. For some reason at the time, I hated the ending when I read the manga, and a lot of other people did too, but I really liked it in the anime. I don't know if it's because I had 2 years to sit on and think about the ending, or if it's because the anime did it better. Either way, I now love the ending to Attack on Titan. I feel like it perfectly wrapped up everything and was a great conclusion to a great series. The season finale had some of the best fights of the series and had some of the best character development moments. And Attack on Titan will go down in history as one of the biggest and best anime endings of all time. Obviously, I still don't think it's a perfect ending, but it was a pretty damn good ending for an amazing series, which is why it's my number 2 favorite anime of the year. Now, before I go into my favorite anime of 2023, there's one anime I feel like I at least have to mention, and the only reason this anime is not number 1 is because I feel like it would make it unfair, as this would always be my favorite anime of every year. It's One Piece. I feel like I have to at least talk about it with the introduction of Gear 5 in the anime and the beginning of the Egghead arc this year in the anime. Gear 5 is now my favorite transformation of all time in any anime, and it doesn't even come close. It perfectly embodies the vibe of One Piece, if that makes sense. It was my favorite fight of the year, and it was absolutely amazing. Anyways, I kind of just wanted to mention One Piece real quick because I love it, and it was just recently, with all the stuff that has happened in it, I just think it's amazing, and it is my favorite anime of all time. That's why it would be number 1 every single year, because it's just always airing, basically. So if you want to see me make a video on One Piece, maybe I'll do that in the future. I just felt like I had to mention it right now because I'm just super excited about it with the new arc starting and everything. Anyways, now let's move on to my actual favorite anime of the year. My number 1 favorite anime of 2023 is Vinland Saga Season 2. Going into this season, I saw so many people saying that if you like Season 1 of Vinland Saga, you will hate Season 2, which is just flat out wrong. Now, I know why people were saying that. It's because Season 1 is very action-packed and Season 2 is pretty slow. I think it has maybe like 1 or 2 fights total, but Season 2 was incredible. I think it was actually a lot better than the first season, and I loved the first season. Season 2 just told an incredible story that kept me hooked. Like, a story doesn't need action to be good, and Vinland Saga proved that. This season focuses more on Thorfinn as a character and him coming to terms with killing so many people in Season 1, and trying to move on past that. Thorfinn is no longer this angry kid driven only by revenge. He's matured past that after what happened in the first season, and eventually learns how much more there is to life and tries to atone for what he's done. It is the #1 best anime of 2023, and there's no competition. Ignoring what I said about One Piece earlier, it's an incredible anime, and it's probably up there in my top 10 favorite anime of all time after this season. It was absolutely incredible and amazing, and I can't recommend watching it enough if you haven't already. And I say the same for every anime on this list. Each one of these anime are fantastic and are definitely all worth watching. 2023 was a crazy year for anime, and I can't wait to see what 2024 has in store for us. Thanks for watching technically my first video of 2024. I wanted this video out earlier, like the end of January, but it took longer than I thought with editing, with having to use a bunch of clips from a bunch of different anime, and I wasn't able to get it out until now. And I am working on a video currently that I don't think will take that long to finish, so look forward to that hopefully very soon. And I also want to start streaming again pretty soon, so look out for that. Anyways, I'll see you all next time in my next video. Peace.